meditation. So thank you. And Leah, yeah, not a problem with multiple Leahs. I love that. All right, so good morning and welcome to the final Sunday of July. And I have to say, this is the perfect title and it's the perfect topic for today. And I'm not just saying that. You know how the universe works. I have lots of examples right now today that I'm going to be sharing with you about how the universe just conspires, stacks all the little things up so that we see that this is a Dagwood sandwich size spirituality. And if you don't know who Dagwood is, just Google that, youngins. It's quite the sandwich. Okay. Now, what is the title of this talk? Well, Tamara mentioned it, and it has to do with wholeness, right? And we've been talking about wholeness the whole time, pun intended. And when we're dealing with wholeness, we're talking about not leaving anybody out. And so it was perfect that yesterday, when I traveled to Pennsylvania to help Tamara send her father to the homegoing service, what we call it in the culture. Homegoing, this is the final, everyone from the family gets to say goodbye to Paul, who lived a long and gorgeous 91 years, and the way that everybody spoke on his behalf, and they just cherished this sweet soul, who I've met a couple times, and just the brightest light, which obviously Tamara gets that from him. And it was really palpable how what we teach and this exact topic was laying in front of me for me to just gather up and put it together stack by stack in quick succession. So there I was. And I have to say that Tamara's, what she said into the mic about her father was so moving that I want her to do that again for us. Coming in the next couple weeks, she'll decide which day. It was a sermon. I've got it on video as well because I can't help but record my friend. And she gave a Sunday talk up in that Baptist session. So much so, and I'm not even going to say what she said because she'll help you. She'll let you know exactly what she said in an upcoming talk. So much so that when the minister took back the podium, pastor took back the podium, he said that a lot of people mention God. And it's kind of good that they're mentioning it on Capitol Hill. But what they're not saying when they talk about God is Jesus, and how Jesus is the only way you're going to get to heaven. The only way. And then he spent a good, Tamara, would you say 10 minutes? Breaking down? Maybe 20 minutes? So, this deep, unconditional love, yet fear-based theology, was coming from the exact same person. This person was talking about Jesus and the unconditional love and humility, and immediately injected fear, which my head started to turn way upside down like Stewie from Family Guy. Just, what? And so after Tamara's beautiful, moving talk, I wanted to think maybe he got a little nervous. Because he knows that she's not necessarily in lockstep with exactly the word that he teaches, but her spirit came through, and it was the truth about it with a capital T. It was love with a capital L. It was family. It was all the things that transcend division. And I feel like he looked out on the room full of grieving people and said, well, all that might feel good and stuff, but unless you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, you better have fun in hell. I mean, he didn't say it out loud. But it was giving that energy. So I had to ask myself, Shar, This is a really hard question, Charlene, as you're listening to this man. If my spiritual journey is about radical inclusion, how do I practice that in this chair right here, right now? How do I include him in my radical inclusion? How do I not other the person who's othering me? And there's the practice. There's the practice. The universe will always bring us the exact moment where we get to practice what we spend a lot of time believing about ourselves. Oh, do you believe that that's how you are? Try it in this scenario. Go. I was like, okay, I got this. So we have, as a group of people who consider ourselves inclusive, who consider ourselves whole no matter what, who consider that the world that we're living in is to include all, inclusive of all, even that's standing in front of us. So if we must consciously choose love, love will ask you to choose it every time that you forgot to think about that. Because when we're not choosing love actively in every moment, we will have the default mechanism kick in. The default factory settings that is, if you're judging me, I get to judge you back. That is the default mechanism. And it was funny, Tamara has two beautiful children, one Heidi and one John. And Heidi recently stopped being a vegan. And so we were joking about how she never was a judgy vegan, and I love her for that. She was always just doing her thing and knowing her choices were for her, but she would never look at you as you bit into your burger and give you that look. Because I told her how if your family members judge you about how you eat, then you can't help but judge everything else about them. It's a judgment gets judgment. The begetting of judgment is true, and there's something higher. There's love that begets love. And so we have to actively choose the love in the moment that we might be tempted to go in a different direction. So I chose not to sort of keep going with the cycle of division. Listen, it is incredibly easy to preach radical inclusion until you meet somebody who actively excludes you. If somebody says something that goes against what I think, what my beliefs are, then no, that's them. Those people need to stop doing that thing. But no, we don't get to choose who to include when we want a world that works for everyone. We don't get to choose who is everyone, because it's just math. It would include everyone, literally everyone, which takes me to my next thought. Because in our content for the week, there is a quote by Adrienne Marie Brown. And it goes on and on, but I'll limit it to this. Let yourself be surprised by the person in front of you, rather than constantly comparing them to limited colonial ideas of what their race, ethnicity, gender, class, ability, or other constructed stereotype is cast to be like. Now, I'm going to say that again, and I want you to think about something. Because I mentioned about a month ago, I learned from a high connection in one of my meditative practices that everything we're doing here, everything fear-based, is on a storyline. There's a storyline playing itself out. And if we buy into it, that's where these fears come from. And every time we think we're not good enough, we're putting ourselves in some storyline, and we're playing some role, and we're not living up. And the minute I notice my mind doing that, and I go, oh, yep, it's a story, it dissolves as if the movie got glitched out and started buffering. As if the Truman Show showed the backstage instead of the mirage that we're playing in. So try this for yourselves. I'm going to say her quote again. Let yourself be surprised by the person in front of you, rather than constantly comparing them to the limited colonial ideas of what their race, their ethnicity, their gender, their class, their abilities, or other constructed stereotypes is cast to be like. Cast in the story that's all made up anyway. And the minute you see yourself playing these roles, you go, oh, okay. I don't know. For me, it's been a bit of a hack. Like, it's been my little cheat code to get behind everything that we think is real, the external presentation that is designed to keep us panicked, worried that we're not good enough, busy because we're trying to get good enough. And then if we stay busy enough, locked into a story, time will go by, and I'm not really sure what the purpose is, but even that's a story. So, because listen, have you ever wanted to completely write someone off because of their beliefs? Think about it. You want to just write them off because of their beliefs. It works a little bit like this. Oh, hi. I get to know you. This, that. I'm still interested. Oh, you're never mind. What, they're not valuable anymore? How much of that is true? How much of that is a shortcut to keeping ourselves isolated, a shortcut to staying so-called safe, but knowing that the safety is disconnecting us, and that causes us to feel lonely, and that's where all of the disease creeps in, because human bodies are meant to be in communion with others. We're meant to commune, to talk to each other, to see what each other thinks. When we bond, we show a little vulnerability. We feel connected. We light up when we think that someone's thinking about us. And when we call them and they say, oh, it's so good to hear from you, we light up when we are seen. So what's the narrative that keeps us convinced that being seen by this person, not good enough, that person, not what I want, that we wouldn't be in any club that would have us as a member at some point, and then we're by ourselves. So this pastor told a grieving room of people who don't normally attend his church that they were going to essentially go to hell, without saying the H-E double hockey sticks words directly. My ego wanted to put him in the villain role of that storyline. But according to the author, Adrienne Marie Brown, she just said, don't do that. Drop your stereotypes and get curious. There's even something like, she says, get curious, not furious. Don't you love that? Get curious. So I got curious and I realized something, that this man is not a villain in general, and he's definitely not a villain in his own story. He really believes that he's throwing us a life raft. He thinks he'll never see us again, that we might be the last stop on our slippery slide all the way to the fire and brimstone. And it's his job, his calling, to toss each of us a life raft. That was his intention. But that doesn't mean I'm going to let him have it. That doesn't mean I'm going to nod and say amen. I fundamentally disagree with that theology. But I can still honor the fact that he's a human. His humanity that wants him to help others. I can honor that. You see, we can be in the presence of other people who don't share our worldview, and we could still be in communion with them by just being curious about what is your worldview, without seeking to change it. So, what would happen if you let yourself get curious about somebody who you may have previously written off? What might you take away from it? Now, I'm going to also give you another little glimpse. Was I tempted to even still go over there and engage? A little bit, but I feel like he remembered me from Tamara's mother's funeral, and he knew to stay away. He literally ignored me the entire time. And that's fair. That's fair, because 4 years ago, when Janet passed, around this time of year, right, Tamara? 4 years ago, around this time. Okay, she's nodding. I went with our beloved Larry up to the funeral, and the call to the altar happened, and Larry was able to tell me, oh, well, you know, he has to do that. The man has to do that. And I understood it, but then at the banquet, I still, being myself, I was just in ministerial school, and I hadn't really seen all the things I've seen now. I may have said one or two things to the ladies. I may have said to his wife, oh yeah, but we know who really wears the pants in the family, am I right? I may have said that. So I'm pretty sure that, among other things, he's no fan of mine. So I said hi to him, but he was just like, he knows exactly who I am. So that's fine too. I was grateful that I didn't have to really fight myself, because there's a part of me that wants to speak it out just to get a reaction. I don't think that's ever going to go away. And because I was even on the way home like, what could I have said? What could I have asked them? Stop trying, Char. It's okay. So my next goal in life is not only to not judge them in the moment, but then in the subsequent moments, not try to sneak in a little bit of me. So that is just a bonus. I didn't really plan on saying that here. Move to my next point. But let's talk about boundaries. Because when we talk about acceptance, and I say I accept him where he is, as I was sitting in the chair and realizing I can't other the person, if our teaching, the one that I've signed up to and the one that I'm studying all the time and helping share with you all, if that's really what I believe, then acceptance means all. But that doesn't mean I have to accept their toxic theology for mine. I don't have to bring it in and embrace it. These boundaries need to exist when you have decided who you're going to be in the world and how you're going to show up in the world, and you refuse to let someone else change that for you. I've said in the past that if we don't sit with ourselves when we first wake up, if we don't say to ourselves who we are, what is our sacred contract, what are we giving in this world, and what are we receiving, if we don't have our purpose top of mind, then the societal belief system is happy to give you one. It's happy. Oh, did you not know who you are? Well, you're fat. Am I? Yup. Oh, and you're old. Okay. Well, yeah, because what happens is the default of our internals, it'll settle to negativity and apathy if we allow it. If we don't have a vision that wakes us up and moves us, what will happen is all of the weight of the world will just settle in like that cake. What's the cake called? There's a cake that Heidi loves. I think it's a magic cake or a happy cake. It's a funny cake. Funny cake. Fun. Okay. It's funny because the Hershey's chocolate melts down and lays at the bottom. Let her tell it. Now you have to come to the service after so Tamara can share with you about the funny cake. All right. But this is what happens to us. If we're not holding our ideas high, if we're not holding our vision high, the world around you is happy to drag you down too. So boundaries. There's acceptance of, oh, I see where you are. I see where you're coming from. And hold up, I'm going to stop you right here. I'm not going to change what I think of myself and what I think of what I'm here to do because you have a certain point of view. Now, I used to think that setting a boundary meant building a brick wall to keep the bad people out. To keep the bad people out, I've got to construct a wall. But when I'm sitting in that church listening, well, it's not even a church. I'm sitting in the funeral home listening to that message of fear. What came to me was, well, a boundary really is the place I can stand where I can love you right where you are. If I get too close, I can't love you like I need to love you. But if I keep my distance, keep my boundaries, it's the delineation where I can love you and love me at the same time. Nobody loses. That's what a boundary is. Now, I didn't make that up. That's from the therapist Prentice Hemphill. He said that boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously. That's the boundary. So acceptance, no. It doesn't mean you have to agree with them. It doesn't mean that you got to change who you think you are. No, boundaries are how we protect our authentic self while also allowing others to be their authentic self. And I love that because boundaries would then require that I don't reach to try to change people. And will I change people anyway? Sure, because I'm being me. I show up in my life, I'm me, and people will start to think a little differently. And I don't, because I'm not editing, I'm not censoring myself, they just get to live the way they're living. And so couple magical things happen. I'll talk about two of them because they involve Tamara's cousin Lisa, and because she's going to tell her story. I can't wait till she tells it. But I'll tell you about Lisa, who so lovingly let me stay in one of her guest rooms in her house, and the grounds, it was amazing. We'll show pictures later. It's wow. So she's hostess with the mostess, and I go in there, and unfortunately she's got that stomach bug, you know, the one. I don't want to tell all her business, but let me just tell you something. You need to stay hydrated, especially if you have a stomach bug, okay? And I'm leaving my house, and I thought, let me grab my lotion. This was the lotion I thought I was going to grab. This right here. But usually it's in the kitchen on the Lazy Susan. Recently I decided lotion shouldn't be on the Lazy Susan, so I had brought it into my office. But silly Char, I'm on my way out the door and I see the blue top. I grab the thing, so I want to have my lotion in the car. It's not lotion. It is it's a hydrating powder mix that Blake gets from the place that sells all the vitamins and stuff. It's hydrating stuff. So I'm in the car, I'm at a stoplight, or I'm charging my car or something, and I go to open up the lotion, I go to peel back. Why is my lotion powdery? And it's not, girl, it is hydrated. I said, well, I guess the universe needs me to be hydrated, and I put it on the seat. I get over there and I find out that Lisa really needs this. She needs it right now. I was like, well, that must be why the divine had me bring this when I bring it over to her. She's like, oh my God, it's delicious. It's strawberry lemonade. I'm going to put it in my, and she drinks it. She feels fine holding her liquids. My gosh. So that's the first thing. I was like, look at God. And she felt bad about Blake not having it. I'm like, he has like 3 of those. He'll be fine. That's the first one. The second one, Tamara, you don't know this, but we were talking about how in practitioner study, they have you write your own eulogy. One of the exercises when you're becoming a practitioner, think about the impact that you're going to have, right? Yes, think about the impact you're going to have. Plan your life as if it's ended. What will you have done that people will have said about you? Write that down, live so that's the truth, and that's cool, right? And so Lisa's like, well, I hadn't heard of that. That's amazing. She said when she was on her way to the funeral home, because we went a little earlier, she pulled me aside and said, Char, you're not going to believe this. And I'm trying to figure out how it happened. But I'm there driving and I'm listening to W blah, 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 the Christian radio. And the man said, you should write your own eulogy. It was like a commercial for something. And she's like, how? She says, well, was the phone listening? And I asked her again. I said, well, the phone totally listens to you. So if it was a Facebook ad, yeah, it probably was listening. But I said, but wait. It was W something, 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 Christian radio.fm? That wasn't listening to you. She was blown away. And then I was like, we're all connected. And I was able to tell her my story about the trees and how we look like we're separate, but there's like this wood wide web, and she's laughing at that, and we're standing there, and I'm telling her how we're all connected. We could sort of, it seems magical. And she said, yeah, I mean, I've heard people say God winks at you, like, but I've never experienced it before. I was like, that's so cool. I've never heard it said like that, but I experience it all the time. And we were able to, and she's laughing, and she's a serious person, so she's not one that's just going to be laughing. She's not like me and Tamara, just laughing because something tickled us inside. She's very serious. So when she's lit up laughing and we're ha ha, everybody's looking like, what in the world? Yes, it's at the funeral. And Paul would have said, please laugh a lot, because this is who I am. And so I'm just saying all that to say this. When we take everything that we've come here to be, and we share it in a way that lifts each other up, that those little things trickle out at a fractal level. Fractals, tiny micro changes that incrementally gather and expand and multiply. It's how you've heard the term about a butterfly flaps its wings in North Dakota and then there's a tsunami in Japan. That kind of thing, where transforming the entire world is not a grand scale effort. It's not sell all your things and create a GoFundMe and then have the world travel with you as you bicycle from Canada to... No! It's little tiny baby things. And our daily quiet choices. Love. That's what sticks around. Fears come and go and are very reactive based on current conditions. Love is deeper and it's always here. We use our interactions with people not to separate and to other and to make ourselves climb a little higher on some perceived ladder of importance. Our love makes everyone beautiful, divine, special. Every single one of us is so precious when we're in the midst of love. Creating a world that works for everyone sounds beautiful, but who actually decides what everyone means? We do. We decide who everyone is. In each moment, we decide. Just love them right where they are. I will end with another small quote from Adrienne Marie Brown. We create the patterns of our society through our choices and beliefs and practices. As such, the path to a future in which humans can be an authentic and accountable peace with each other is fractal. We must be willing to practice authenticity and accountability at the small scale of ourselves and our lives, both in ourselves and in our immediate relationships. In ourselves and our immediate relationships. I'm thinking, how else could it work? How else could you get from here to there, from here to everyone, without every single person you meet along the way? We do not get to exclude. If a person is in front of us, that's the person we love. Period. All right, I'll leave it there. Let's go into prayer. And let me check the chat to see if there's any requests. Yes. Okay. As we go within, and just know that there's a divine light, love, a power, a presence. Yes, it can be called God. Yes, it can be called Jesus. Yes, it could be called the Holy Spirit. Yes, there are so many ways that we can refer to it. But no matter which little stream that our little village lives near, we may call it by our nature, by its natural name in our community, but that stream merges with all the other streams, and as water finds its weight in that the collecting pool where all those streams lead into that one river, which lead into the one lake or the one ocean. It's all God. It's all God. We're all one with that divine presence. There is no separation. Are things different here to there? Sure. Does my stream curve a little more than yours? Absolutely. It is all one divine love and light that is living and breathing as us, and we get to be fully ourselves. And each time we do let ourselves live out loud, we are celebrating the unique oneness, the uniqueness in the oneness. We don't have to become just like each other. We don't have to be a monotheistic culture. We get to express the divine. And so I know that each and every one of us is in contact with what that looks like for themselves. That even now there are little bright ideas, little sparks of interest that we're untethered, we're unchained, we can do whatever, we can just live from our center being, just knowing that we're here to light up the world, starting with whoever's next on our journey, whoever else, whoever comes in front of us. That's who we love, and we love, and we love. And this fractal energy repeats itself, it presses down, it amplifies, and it multiplies, just like a stone rippling on a smooth surface of a lake. Drop it in there and the energy goes. And so we don't have to create energy. We just have to obey our inner guidance. Just follow that. And if it's loving, if it's high, if it's purposeful, if it's inclusive, if it holds people up and doesn't tear them down, it is the purest, and it is what we're here to be. And so I speak my word that anything unlike that energy simply falls away in the compelling presence of the pure light of love, truth, and wholeness. And that right here, right now, I know that Paul is on his journey on the other side, just joyfully experiencing all the love that was generated yesterday and is still happening today. For the ripple shall ripple forth. And I can't wait to see how that unfolds. And everybody else that has any prayer requests, I just know that the divine is already answering that prayer through you, as you, in your life, in your circumstances. And I speak my word that it is already unfolding right now. So I release my word into the law. I know that it's already done. I let it go. I let it be. And so it is. Let's hear from Leah. She has a song for us.